When entering the world of true luxury watches, the first brand most people think of is Rolex. A brand with the history and heritage to rival, and in some cases even beat the Rolexes of this world, is Omega. Today I want to talk about the Omega Seamaster Aquaterra and why it just might be the best entry level mechanical Omega for most people. Omega, as we know it today, has been operational since 1903, but its roots go back to 1848 when it operated under a different name. Today, Omega are most famous for their Speedmaster series of watches, specifically the Moonwatch. But another historical line is the Seamaster, which was introduced in 1948, with the Aquaterra subfamily being introduced in 2002. So, although the Aquaterra line is relatively young, they've built a strong reputation as well designed, reliable watches in these 20 years. In some senses, the Aquaterra line may have been introduced to compete directly with the Rolex Oyster Perpetual or Datejust models, while the Seamaster 300s compete with the Submariners. There are a lot of Aquaterra models currently in production, 260 variants to be precise. So choosing one model can be a little overwhelming. In fact, even I had intended to go for another model, the blue faced Aquaterra. But when I actually visited an Omega boutique to get that one, this particular model caught my eye. Personally, I think that this design is really cool and it looks much better in person. I was immediately drawn to it. Before talking further about the wearing experience and comparing it with the other popular Omega watches, let's quickly get the specs out of the way. This watch has a steel case with a 41mm diameter with a lug-to-lug width of almost 48mm. The watch also sits at just over 13mm thick, so in no way is this a small watch. On the inside, it's powered by Omega's COSC and META certified 8900 coaxial movement. This movement has a power reserve of 60 hours and features a jumping hour hand with hacking. It is also resistant to magnetic fields over 15,000 Gauss. This watch has a domed scratch resistant sapphire crystal with anti-reflective treatment on both sides. Finally, this watch has a water resistance of 15 bars of 150 meters. With the caliber 8900 being META certified, this watch is guaranteed to run within a deviation of 0 to plus 5 seconds a day or better. Omega even lets you check the certification test scores of your very own piece. As you can see, these are the test results of my watch. Just having the ability to see the performance of your own piece is so cool and makes the watch feel a little more personal. This movement is also beautifully finished and is displayed through the open caseback. I think it's one of the better finished movements at this price point. I really like the silvery white dial with the horizontal teak pattern, which Omega says is inspired by the wooden decks of luxury sailboats. Now, this may be a bit of a stretch, but I really like the dial nevertheless. I always like my watches to show the date, which is one of the simplest yet most practical complications in my opinion. I always prefer a larger date cutout because it just makes it more legible, and this watch has an average size cutout. I love the use of orange on this dial. This can be seen all over the watch from the central seconds hand, the Seamaster wording, and the 4/4 numbers on the minute track. The orange accents on the rubber strap perfectly complement the dial and are a really nice touch. I usually prefer metal bracelets myself, but in this case, I just had to go with the rubber strap just because I love this look so much. The fold over clasp on the strap ensures that you get a good fit without having the hassle of a pin buckle, while also preserving the life of the strap. Strapping it on and off is really simple and quick. Despite being rubber, the strap feels premium and provides a comfortable wearing experience. Okay, so this watch isn't perfect and there are a couple of minor things that I don't love about it. The first is the loom on the watch. Although they claim to use superluminova on the hands, I've really found it to be a little underwhelming. The second is that the model is just over 13 millimeters thick and is 41 millimeters in diameter. It's definitely not the thinnest or the smallest watch in the world. It fits a little big on my 6-inch wrist. Unfortunately, they didn't have this dial and strap combination at 38 millimeters, else I would have gone for that. Okay, now let's stack this watch against the other two popular entry level mechanical offerings from Omega around this price range. This Aquaterra starts at 5,400 US dollars, while the Diver 300 comes in at around 5,100 US dollars. The Moonwatch starts at 5,350 US dollars, but this model is really hard to get. It's more likely that you'll end up buying the Speedmaster starting at 6,100 US dollars. So all three models are really good watches and are solid choices in their own right. However, I think the reason why this watch is a great choice for many people is because it's more versatile than the other two. I feel like while the Aquaterra is definitely a sports watch, it does have some dressy vibes to it. I think you can easily dress it up or down. It looks great with casual wear, but also wouldn't look out of place with more formal attire, especially with a metal bracelet. Personally, I feel like the Diver 300 looks more generic and is also an out and out sports watch. The Moonwatch is a good looking watch and has an iconic design, but you can't disagree that it has a very busy face. If you want a more simple dial, go for the Aquaterra. Moreover, not everyone wants a chronograph. Overall, I think that the Aquaterra has a more fun and youthful look to it compared to the other two. Coming to the movements, the Diver 300 is equipped with Omega's caliber 8800, while the Aquaterra has Omega's caliber 8900. Based on my research, both these movements are very similar, with the 8900 narrowly beating the 8800 in terms of power reserve, while the 8800 wins in terms of a more compact size. The Moonwatch Professional, on the other hand, has the caliber 1861, which is a manual winding movement. This movement is very different to the other two, so direct comparison doesn't really make sense. In short, each movement is really solid and the choice comes down to your personal preference. In terms of wearing comfort, the Moonwatch is the thinnest and sits the best on my wrist despite its 42mm case diameter. Although a little big, the Aquaterra also feels really comfortable on my wrist, while the Diver 300 is by far the heaviest of the three and is the least comfortable for my wrist. This is one area where the Aquaterra cannot compete with the other two big boys. Being introduced in 2002, this watch family is still young and doesn't have the same emotional attachment with the masses as the other two. The Seamaster is the longest running product line still produced by Omega. It was introduced in 1948 and was based on designs made for the British Royal Navy towards the end of World War II. The Moonwatch Professional, on the other hand, was used by astronauts who went to the moon. This watch is as iconic as it gets and has a very strong following. So, in closing, I think that if you don't have a really strong emotional attachment to the Moonwatch or the Seamaster Diver watches, then the Aquaterra is a really good choice for you. Personally, I think that this is a great looking watch and it feels more youthful compared to the other two. I've had a really good experience with the Aquaterra, and my only complaint really would be the size of this watch. And again, this is specific to my wrist size. For most, I would think that the Aquaterra is a really solid entry level Omega, and I would wholly recommend it. Let me know what you think. Do you think the Aquaterra is the best entry level Omega, or would you go with some other watch? As always, thanks a lot for watching this video. If you found it helpful or if you enjoyed watching it, please hit the thumbs up. It will really help me a lot. Until next time, peace.